employment and unemployment. All of these are symptomatic expressions of racism, white supremacy. But until we see the system as a whole and dialogue and talk about the system as a whole, do you see, keep dialoguing about the system as a whole, that's when we have our greatest power.
Absolutely.
But as long as we are attempting this, like you said, if a patient comes in the office and the patient has a severe cough, and the doctor just says, well, let me give you some cough syrup, instead of the doctor saying, well, the cough could be a symptom of a number of things. It could be a symptom of tuberculosis. It could be a symptom of heart disease. It could be a symptom of collapsed lung. It could be, so I have to find out what actually is causing the cough.
Absolutely.
If I'm going to be an effective doctor. The person could have lung cancer.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Welsing, I have another question for you. When you first agreed to come on the Dino Dean Show, you talked to me about black self-respect in the face of racism. Share with us your opinion on that comment that you made to me.
Well, do you see, in other words, it's like racism, white supremacy is a war going on against non-white people in general, black people in particular. So if you want to defeat a group that you have designated as your enemy, if you can psychologically destroy them, do you see, if you can make them demean and degrade themselves, you can do anything that you want with them. Now, we have just, I don't know that we're out of it. I know we're not out of it. But the programming, the psychological warfare and programming of black people to call themselves niggers and dogs and bow wows and gangsters and thugs and bitches and hoes. See, we're the only people on this entire planet who have been psychologically programmed to demean and degrade themselves at the highest possible level. So we are on a genocide slide without realizing it. And because we didn't understand the system, people thought, well, the system says to some so-called entertainers, oh, that rap music, oh, that's interesting. Well, I think I'm going to pay you, but you're going to have to change from, let's say, Public Enemy, when they did Fear of the Black Planet. Fear of the Black Planet was based on the Cress theory.
Absolutely.
But that's a political concept. So that if the system had allowed that to go forward, then people would have had a political education through the music. But the system realized that that was very dangerous. So they said, well, what we're going to do is pay these people. We're going to give them large sums of money. They don't understand the system, and they will think that they are stars. We'll tell them that they're stars. We're going to have them go out, but they're going to really be programming their people into trashy talk,
right,
destructive images of themselves. And we'll be able to do anything we want with them, because if the brain computer has negative images about self, then you can destroy the person. You can say, kill your mother, and they'll kill their mother. Kill your brother, they'll kill their brother, because the self-concept has gone down below zero on a 0 to 10 scale, where 10 is high. So this is what has happened to us, and there's no point in hating the people who classify themselves as white. We just have to get sophisticated in our understanding. This is a tiny minority of people on the planet who have worked out a system for their genetic survival by any means necessary. So
Absolutely.
This is what they are going to be doing.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Welsing, I have another question for you, if you don't mind. During the era of lynching in America, what was the mutilation and removing of the genitals symbolic of?
Well, it was more than symbolic. You see, in other words, what have I been saying? I said racism is about white genetic survival. Castration is to attack the testicles. The testicles contain the genetic material. So if a person is afraid that the other person can genetically annihilate them, then it would be logical at a symbolic level that the testicles will be attacked. Do you see? So then black men would be accused of looking at a white woman, thinking about wanting to think about looking at a white woman, and then he would be strung up and lynched and castrated. You see, but there's no record of black men tampering with white men's testicles.
Right.
Now, a black man may stab somebody, shoot somebody, but they don't get into cutting off the testicles of white men because white men's testicles cannot cause, or white genetic material cannot cause black genetic annihilation.
Absolutely. We're going to take a brief break. We're listening with Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and we're going to go to the phone lines in a little bit. But right now we're going to take a quick musical interlude, and we will be right back. You're listening to the Dino Dean Show, and Dr. Francis Cress Welsing is on air with us today. Be right back. Welcome back to the Dino Dean Show. The call-in number is 646-200-0067, and you ask who that lady is. That lady is Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and she's on the Dino Dean Show today, and I must bear witness, I am in total student mode today. I am listening to my sister teach me as well as the rest of the listening audience. And Dr. Welsing, I have another question for you, and this may be a bit controversial.
Go ahead.
Do you feel that the explosion of the homosexual agenda, particularly in the black community, is being used as a form of birth control to keep black population in check?
I believe that it is a form of genocide. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's interesting that you should say that. I just read recently that the highest paid male entertainer is Tyler Perry. He's made more millions of dollars than anybody else in the past year. Now, Tyler Perry is a black man who I believe says he's gay, and then he's dressing in female garb. Now, this is very, very, very important, because if the black male can be feminized and turned into a female, then the white population doesn't have to fear white genetic annihilation. And at the same time, if males are feminized, then that is almost like the death of a people. Wow. And so most of the males that are, appearing in movies, they will try to get them to put on a dress. Now, I don't know, are you familiar with the television program The Wire?
Yes, despicable little hoodie, drug-selling little program.
Right.
Out of Baltimore.
I just read before that the male in that role, he's gay. Mm-hmm. Do you see? Now, this is not Francis Welsing being homophobic. I'm not being homophobic. I'm looking at behavioral phenomenon and wondering where is it coming from. Right. Now, there are chemicals that are in the water that are causing male frogs to become females, male fish to become females. Now, this is supposed to be in the water supply.
Wow.
You see, we have epidemic levels of black male effeminization. So as a physician, I just simply raise the question, where is this coming from? Right. What is causing this? We could look at the fact that 70% of black households do not have fathers in the home. And so male children do not have a model of adult male behavior. They just see mother getting dressed and putting on earrings, auntie putting on earrings, grandmother putting on earrings, and long hair. Do you see what I'm saying? Is some of it coming from this? But again, this is what's critical and important about analyzing and decoding the war that is coming at black people. And if I'm correct, I believe I am, in saying that this is a war of racism, white supremacy, the war for white genetic survival on the planet. And so you just had the Norwegian mass murderer, a young man in Norway. You're familiar with that case, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Where a number of the children that at the camp, young people at the camp, were non-white. They were of African and Asian origin. And in his manifesto, which I understand you can download on the internet, he talks about too many non-white people coming into Europe and changing the complexion of the people in Europe. And so he felt that it was his duty to kill the non-white people.
Dr. Welsing, I want to share something with the listening audience as well. There's a book by Republican strategist Pat Buchanan. He wrote a book called Death of the West.
Right.
And I implore everybody, go read that book, because it's actually verifying everything that Dr. Welsing is stating to us today. You have Pat Buchanan talking about the declining population of white people throughout the world. And
he's right. Death
Go
of
ahead.
the West and State of Emergency.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's another important book that every black person should read, and it's called Blood and Politics. And it talks about the far right-wing movement and the Nazis, you know, the white supremacist ideology that is becoming a dominant mode of thinking amongst many people. So at the same time that black people, you know, have been led to believe, because there's a first black president, that it's the end of racism, that not so, that this is the dominant power formation on planet Earth. And the black people, if I could wave a magic wand, black people would stop singing and dancing and partying, and they would be studying.
Absolutely. And Dr. Welsing, I have a big problem with all of our people going to the club celebrating. I'm wondering, you know, what do you have to celebrate?
Well,
what's
it's
the celebration about?
No, it's escaping reality.
Yes, ma'am.
See, it's just like drugs are a form of, you know, reality is overwhelming, stressful, and painful, so let me escape. Let me pretend that I'm happy. I'm really laughing to keep from crying. You see, we have massive levels of unemployment, massive levels of school failure, massive levels of gender identity confusion amongst male and female young people.
Yes.
Dr.
Welsing, we're going to go to the phone lines right now. My phone lines are just totally blown up. Area code 708-207. Talk to me, it's Dino Dean. Did you have a question or a comment for the fantastic Dr. Francis Cress Welsing?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. And how you doing, Dr. Welsing?
Hi, how you doing? One at a time, please.
Absolutely. The first question is, how does symbolism affect black progress in America?
Well, you see, if the brain, I mean, symbols is something that the brain does. It's like the brain will crunch data and, you know, put it in the form of a symbol, and then you look at the symbol. You may not, if you don't understand the power context in which the symbol forms, you won't know what the symbol means.